Back again. Sorry that I just keep getting uglier, but I promise that today is the day that I am going to shower. And my cold sore's just living its life. Anyway. When evening falls, I go ahead and start the fire. Ampert wakes and we toast bread and cheese, then eat it with apples. He says he doesn't want to go back to the newcomers in the dark, and we plan for him to stay the night. In the flickering flames, I remember how my shirt didn't so much as char in the gas plant blaze. Ampert pulls off one of his socks and dips it into the fire, where it glows for a while before the toes begin to melt. Seems like a clue. Perhaps it's protective, but from what? I've only encountered one gas plant burn. The clothing suggests any number of things could burn. As if inspired by the cook fire, Ampert says he'd like to try and catch something to eat to repay me for the food. His token has gotten tangled up with the District 9 sunflowers, so he removes all three at once and lays them on the ground. He separates his fuse and says, I might be able to fashion a snare from this, but do you think the animals are poisonous? Maybe not the rabbits, I tell him. I watch one die from drinking water. It seems as susceptible as we are. Of course, they could be carrying rabbit fever. What's that? Sickness. You don't want it. But if we cook it through, it might be safe. All of this is just chatter meant to mislead the game makers. We're not trapping rabbits, or cooking their meat, or even counting on being here for breakfast. Worth a try. Ampert begins to unweave his token, simultaneously winding the black fuse around his hand. When he reaches the end, he surreptitiously tucks something that must be the blasting cap in the coils. I'll give it a go in the morning. You can keep anything it catches. His eyes fall on the sunflowers. Do you want a sunflower? I bet 9 would like you to wear one. You're the reason they were in the alliance. It was really Maisley who won them over, I responded. You should have seen them stand up to Panache. Thought he was doing them some big favour letting them join the careers, and they just shut him down like that. I snapped my fingers and smiled at the memory. Yeah, I'll wear one. They were good allies. I hang the blood-stained sunflower around my neck. The anthem begins, but no faces appear tonight. Still 26 of us, I say. Ampert wraps his arms around his knees. Can we stay by the fire a while? I don't like the dark. Even though we need the fire for the plot, this rings true. Ampert puts on a brave face, but I can imagine what images haunt him after the bloodbath. We can sleep here if you want. I don't think that tree will work for the both of us. We can take turns being on watch, I tell him. Go ahead and get some rest. Can I have some water? I give him the full jug, and he downs just a few swigs. Wake me when you've had enough, says Ampert. I'll be ready. He takes a final mouthful of water and lies down. He's leaving it to me to call the shots. Okay, I say. Sweet dreams. In a few minutes, he's either sleeping or making a good show of it. I keep guard, my spear resting on my knees, waiting for its big moment when I use it to pry open the burn. I'm glad that that's its job, instead of taking someone's life. If I make it out of the games without killing anybody, that would be a victory in itself. I say my goodbyes to those I love. Burdock and Blair, Hattie, Ma and Sid, and finally Lenore Dove, my rare and radiant girl. I try not to be scared. I tell myself that everybody has to die sometime, and my number's up. In a way, it's a comfort that a bunch of people I know have gone before me. Pa and Mama and the twins, and Luella and Wyatt and Lulu, and a lot of newcomers. Maybe Lenore Dove's right, and I will meet up with them, and one day with her in another world. Or maybe there's just nothing, in which case it won't hurt any. Mostly, I just don't know. The darkness deepens and the air cools, and when I think it's past midnight and the audience has gone to bed, leaving a handful of game makers to mind the show, I light a torch branch. Crouching down, I tap Ampert on the shoulder and say, softly, Hey, body, let's beat those odds. Ampert jumps to his feet immediately, thrusting the coiled fuse in my hand. You'll have 60 seconds, he whispers. This is followed by the explosive, which feels soft and sticky like putty, and has been shaped into a block. The last mouthful of water was put to good use. I pocket the materials, and without further conversation, we cross to the burn. He holds the torch while I drive the tip of my spear into the crack held by the branch that I left behind yesterday. Using my full body weight for leverage, I pry the sides of the burn open. The mouth yawns, then begins to slide close, but not before I wedge the spear between the lips, holding the hatch wide open. To one side, a utility ladder runs down the depths. A mechanical buzz of protest comes from below. Ampert passes me the torch. I'll be here. He looks so young. Standing there in the flickering light, armed with only an axe, I doubt he's strong enough to wield it. I slide my knife into his belt, muss his hair like I do Sid's, and say, "Best ally ever." He gives me a lopsided grin, and I hop the ladder. Torch in one hand, I begin my descent. My feet feel stiff and clumsy on the thin rungs. Right, left, I instruct them. 5, 10, 20 feet down, I land on concrete in a narrow hallway and turn to my right, which seems in the northerly direction. I trot along with the help of my torch and the dim utility lights that glow along the side of the floor. I haven't gone far when I realise the internal wall on my left is not a wall, it's all metal, ribbed. Every few feet, a water droplet, shaped like a tear, has been stamped at about eye level. This must be the side of a water tank, and it is indeed massive. Running from the concrete floor 20 feet up to the ceiling, the droplets stretched as far as I can see in either direction. What could they possibly need this much water for? Do they intend to turn the entire arena into a lake? I hesitate, trying to assess the most effective point to place the explosives. Then I give up and slap it on a few feet below the droplet sign in front of me. What does it matter, really, where the tank is damaged? With a flick of my wrist, I unfurl the fuse and slide it through my fingers, smudging them with the black until they find the blasting cap. Luckily, I paid attention in class. I place the cap in the explosive and still myself. No time like the present. I dip my torch to the end of the fuse and watch the flame eat through the first inches, leaving only the faintest trace of ash, and then run like hell. 60 seconds and counted. 101, 102, 103. I track the time in my head as my feet pound down the concrete. The ladder comes into view and I fling my branch aside as it's slowing me down. I trust that Ampert will be waiting in the top with a second torch. I know it might be wiser to embrace my death now, but there's something in a person that wants to live, even if it's only for a few more hours. 120, 121. Besides, there is Ampert to think about. I may still be able to offer him some protection. I hear them before I see them, a delicate chirping sound, not unlike a bird, overlaid with occasional squeaks. Whatever they are, they don't sound threatening. I'm more perplexed than alarmed. Perhaps a flock of songbirds has escaped and flies free in sub-A, like the birds do in the rafters of the Chariot Hall stable. As my hands hit the first rung of the ladder, I look up in time to catch sight of Ampert's face lit by the torchlight. Then a swirl of colour obstructs his image and spirals down at me. Transparent wings, tinged in every colour of the rainbow, flash above me. They catch the firelight, making them shine like a hard candy in the Donna shop window on a sunny day. It'd be something to admire, except each 3-foot wide pair of wings carries a vicious face and 2 back feet sporting 4-inched curved claws. Genetically engineered bat mutations, designed to shred me to slaw. These creatures haven't broken out of the cage. They're a gift from the capital. 136, 137. "Hey, Mitch," I hear Ampert cry out. "Catch!" He releases the torch, which scatters the bat formation for a second, and I somehow manage to grab it with my free hand. I begin to scale the ladder, waving the fire above my head, but these are no butterflies. Simple to ignite and destroy. They are sinewy mammals that can turn on a dime. They evade my torch and begin to claw me, taking painful swipes at my shoulders and back, causing blood to flow. Climb I must, though, because the clock is ticking, and if I'm not above ground, I'll be drowned for sure. I'm not going to make it. I've lost count, but I'm thinking at any moment the tank will blow and there will be nowhere for that water to go but this hallway. I take a final swing at the bats, solidly connecting with one, its claws sunk into my thigh, and hurl the torch at the evil faces. My fingers fumble for my belt, unhook the interlocking rings, and wrap the belt around the ladder and rail. I secure the clasp. I throw my arms around the ladder, brace my legs, and hang on for dear life, filling my lungs with deep breaths. About 5 seconds, and 3 bat scratches later, deafened by the squeaks and hisses, I think I've made a mistake. I've bungled setting the explosive, and the cap was a dud, or a game maker has arrived in time to yank the fuse from the putty. An ear-splitting blast almost knocks me off the ladder, and I'm totally submerged in water. Icy cold blackness engulfs me, rips one arm free. Without the belt, I'd be a goner, but somehow I regain my grip and cling to the bars with every limb. Eyes closed against the flood. After what seems like forever, the current eases enough for me to pop open my belt and continue my ascent. By this point, the burning in my lungs has pushed all other fears into the background. Legs floating free, I drag myself up the ladder. I'm about to black out when my face breaks through the surface. Between great gasps of air, I choke and gag up the bucket of water that has managed to force its way in, despite my best efforts. The good news is that the bats have disappeared, hopefully drowned in the initial wave. Also, the water lacks the metallic taste of the stream. I'm beginning to think they didn't bother poison the colossal tank full, but targeted the streams individually, so my mutt wounds must have been washed clean safely. Glass half full. When I get my breathing and shivers in check, I call for Ampert. Above me, in the dim light of the fake moon, I can see the spear still propping open the burn, but no sign of him. Something isn't right. He wouldn't leave me to fend for myself when the wave came. Did the bats have time to escape through the berm and attack him? It seems unlikely that even if they could fly that swiftly, as the water came almost simultaneously with the boom. What has happened to him? Careers? Game maker attacks? I scale the ladder as fast as my frozen muscles will allow, and I reach the surface of the arena. I survey the woods, softly glowing in the mix of moonlight and firelight. Our campsite remains as we left it, with my pack and the rumpled hammock on the ground. No sign of Ampert, but no sign of a struggle either. What has led him to abandon his post? I wrench the spear from the burn. The lips try to close, but damage has occurred, and they end in a sort of floral leer. I call softly, Ampert? Ampert? No response. My hearing's funny from either the water or the blast, but a sound reaches my ears, only just distinguishable from the usual nighttime hum of the forest. Animal, but distinct from the bats. Not chirping, but chattering, coming from multiple mouths. I grab the hammock, wrapping it around my left forearm, thinking a net might come in handy, and creep towards the chatter. The sound intensifies, making my skin crawl, but I push forward until I break into the small circular clearing. The trees buzz with life. I make out 100 of squirrel-like creatures, swarming around in their gorgeous golden coats, their eyes shining as if lit from within. Cute in a way, but too hyper, bouncing from branch to branch, gnashing their long rectangular front teeth in agitation. Mutts. The only pause is to emit piercing rodent screams at the mound of their comrades in the centre of the clearing. The boldest are fighting viciously, throwing themselves into the heap, kicking one another away with powerful hindquarters. One flies through the air and lands at my feet before springing back up. I spy a bloody scrap of electric blue fabric, snagged on its incisors, and everything becomes clear. Carnivorous mutts, tearing Ampert apart. I promised Beatty I would not let him suffer. Flinging my hammock to its full length, I holler and lunge for the pile. The hammock snares the furry bodies, and I jerk it towards me, succeeding in unseating a layer or two of mutts. Then I flip around my spear and use it as a club to swing across the mound again and again, sweeping the squirrels away. I prepare myself for their attack, with the inevitable tearing of my flesh, but nothing happens. The moment one's knocked free of the mound, it dives back in. These are programmed for Ampert, and Ampert alone. His look, his smell, his taste. I'm losing. I'm losing the fight, and I'm losing him. I know this, but there's nothing to do but keep swinging. I never even get a glimpse of Ampert, just writhing furry bodies fighting for a piece of him. Finally, as if someone blew a whistle, audible only to them, hundreds of heads pop up and turn in unison, towards an unseen master. A mad dash ensues, and in seconds the squirrels have vanished into the foliage. Panting, I watch them fade away, and I turn back to see what I meant to witness. A small white skeleton, stripped clean of the bone. No flesh or clothing remains. Only an axe at its right sides, my knife at its left. My lips move, but no sound comes out. Buddy? I stumble forward, spotting his tracker, wedged just below his elbow. There is no one to comfort, to ease out of this world. Ampert's been swallowed up by the capital, and his coffin will hold only these pearly white bones. A cannon fires. Somewhere, BT's heart breaks into fragments so small it can never be repaired. Mine pounds like a drum, and a wave of rage surges into it. My head drops back, and I emit a howl that bounces off the fake sky and echoes around the arena. I want to kill them all. Snow, the game makers, every person in the capital who has been party to this atrocity. But they're safely out of reach, so I drop my spear, grab the axe, and begin to chop away at the arena, determined to take it apart piece by piece. The trees, the berry bushes, the bird's nest. An inhumane sound roars out of me. I'm hacking a Burma bluebells to bits when the earth begins to shake so violently that I'm thrown from my feet into a bank of moss. My fingers dig into the stuff and hold my position as branches and debris rain down on me. When the earth settles, I scream at the sky. Ha! You missed! I spring to my feet and start careening through the trees like a wild man. I'm still here. I'm still here. I stagger into the campsite. I catch sight of the berm and realise that something much bigger than targeting me is happening. The mouth opens and closes spasmodically, sending bursts of blossoms into the air. In the trees behind it, a herd of adorable baby deer run around in a frenzy, rearing up to show spiked hooves, slashing viciously at the air. An apple tree is transformed into a fountain of blue sparks, and clouds of steam rise from a nearby stream. Everything's taken an eerie, dreamlike quality. Either the arena's malfunctioning, or I've been licking toads. Half afraid to hope, I slowly raise my eyes upwards to see the night sky, which cuts in and out like a bad television reception. A burst of static dazzles, then suddenly I'm looking straight up at the real sky. A gush of fresh air fills my lungs and moonlight illuminates the chaos. It worked. We've done it. Me and Amper and BT in District 9 and a slew of people I've never heard of. We've drowned the brain. We've broken the arena. This is my poster, right here. I give a wild victory cry and spin around shouting, "Did you all want a party? I'll give you a party." Lightning flashes and a clap of thunder booms. I dance around the berm, bellowing the first thing that comes to mind for all of Panem to hear. A song too dangerous to sing. They hang the man and flog the woman who steals the goose from off the common, yet the greater villain loose that steals the common from the goose. I extend my arms to the stars, Sid stars, all of our stars. The law locks up the man or woman who steals the goose from off the common, and geese will steal a common lack till they go and steal it back. I jump up and down hollering, "We got it back, we're getting it back." Finally, I drop to my knees, arch my back and stretch out my arms and embrace the sky. Only, it goes pitch black, and suddenly as if someone threw a switch. A low humming emanates from the forest floor. What's causing that? I get a bad feeling. To my horror, I see the arena sky flicker back into focus. "No! No!" I cry out. The berm's still going at it. Sparks still spray from the apple tree. But the woods as a whole seem to have quieted. Maybe that's okay. Maybe that's just part of it shutting down. To be sure, I dig in my pack, sling the binoculars around my neck, fly to my sleeping tree, scurry up the trunk like a squirrel mutt. When I reach my lookout position, I sway in the branches, peering through the lenses for an answer. Have I truly broken the arena? Are the games finished? Far in the distance, beyond the meadow, a mountain erupts in a fountain of lethal gold. And I have my answer. For me, the party is over.